Oh no, Trump did not keep one of his campaign promises. He said during the campaign, he promised that he would have Ukraine and Russia settled before he took office. Well, he's been in office for like 5 weeks now, and they're just now getting to the peace talks with Russia. So, oh no, the libs finally got one on us. I'm sure that like Destiny is gonna have a field day with this. They told he said he was gonna have it done in the first day before he even took office. And look, it took him like 8 weeks to get it done. And twitch his jaw and shit. But no, the U.S. and Russian diplomats, they met in Saudi Arabia to finally talk like peace, and Ukraine wasn't invited because fuck Ukraine. Uh, to be fair, fuck Russia too, but also fuck Ukraine. Like fuck them both. But no, obviously, if the U.S. is going to mediate this whole thing, like Ukraine doesn't necessarily even have to be at the table because, like, first of all, they don't really have any. They're not in any position to negotiate anything. They've basically been beaten. The only reason why Zelensky's still in office is because Putin has known that like it would really be an international incident if he went all the way to Kiev and started bombing Kiev, and kill Zelensky and stuff like that. So he's kind of had to, or at least that's how I picture it anyway. Um, but yeah, I mean, besides, like, why, like, yes, at some point you're going to have to get everybody in the room together, but right now both sides are basically saying they're not sure if they even want to talk to each other. So if the U.S. is going to mediate this whole thing, then of course we're going to have to talk to the Russians separately from the Ukrainians. But yeah, Marco Rubio met with the Russian foreign minister in Saudi Arabia, and we're going to cover it thanks to this CNBC article. U.S. and Russia end first high-level talks since 2022 as Ukraine peace negotiations in the balance. Yeah, we haven't had diplomats from our sides, from either side, talk to each other since 2022. So almost 3 years we haven't really spoken to each other. Anyway, like I said, shout out to CNBC, and shout out to Holly Elliott. Once again, one person wrote this article, not four. So good for them. The key points in this: Russian and U.S. officials are holding their first formal meeting in years on Tuesday for talks on how to end the war in Ukraine. The meeting between U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio and Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov marks the first formal sit-down meeting between top U.S. and Russian diplomats since January 2022. And the Ukrainian officials will not be present at the talks in Riyadh, Kiev said, and European allies remain frozen out of the discussions for now. Yeah, because they don't have to be there. Who gives a shit what you guys want? Do you want this war to end or not? Do you want Daddy USA to come in and fucking play daddy and separate you kids? Well, fine. That's what we're gonna do. We don't need your fucking help. We don't need your fucking opinion. I would prefer to just let you guys duke it out without us being involved in any meaningful fashion. Like, if Russia has the ability and the manpower to conquer all of Europe, it's not America's problem. Now, people will say it's America's problem because blah, 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 but, like, I don't really care. Foreign entanglements are a son of a bitch. But no, if you want us to play referee, then fuck off. Like, don't, like, sit there. You're just going to sit at the table and mean mug and talk shit, and no. Like, let us handle it. If you want us to handle it and we agree to handle it, then stay the fuck out of our way. Russian and U.S. officials ended their first formal meeting in years on Tuesday after more than 4 hours of laying the groundwork for talks to end the war in Ukraine. The meeting between U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio and Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov began earlier Tuesday morning in Saudi Arabia and marked the first formal sit-down meeting between top U.S. and Russian diplomats since January of 2022. So it has been 3 years. When then Secretary of State Antony Blinken and Lavrov met in Geneva just weeks before Russia invaded Ukraine. U.S. envoy Steve Witkoff and National Security Advisor Mike Waltz, not Walls, participated in the talks, while Lavrov was accompanied by Kremlin aide Yuri Yushakov, according to Russian state media. Ushakov told Russian state media news agencies TASS and RIA Novosti that separate teams of Russian and U.S. negotiators will begin contact on Ukraine in due time, according to comments translated by NBC News. Yeah, so like we're going to loop in Ukraine eventually, but right now, once again, if you want us to play referee, then we're going to play referee and we're going to talk to everybody separately. And like our diplomats are constantly talking to the Ukrainians, like, how dare, like, how could you have peace talks without Ukraine in the room? It's like, well, look, we like Zelensky is in the U.S. all the time talking to American congressmen and senators and all this shit. Like, so if we could talk to you separately and alone, then we could also talk to the Russians separately. Like, you're not fucking special, Ukraine. I like America to just wash our hands of the whole thing and just don't give a shit. Like, why are we even bothering? This whole thing is just stupid. The high-profile meeting comes after U.S. President Donald Trump announced last week that he and Kremlin leader Vladimir Putin had agreed to start negotiations to end the three-year war in Ukraine. Both sides had played down the potential outcome of this first meeting. State Department spokesperson Tammy Bruce told reporters on Monday that the Riyadh meeting was designed to determine if the Russians perhaps are serious and if they're on the same page. Kremlin spokesman Dmitry Peskov said Monday that the meeting was to discuss restoring bilateral relations and preparations for potential Ukraine peace talks. On Tuesday, the spokesman said that Putin was prepared to talk to Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky if necessary, but said that the legal basis of agreements needs discussion, considering the reality that Zelensky's legitimacy can be questioned. And that's because, which this article will get into in a second, but that's because he hasn't held a new election. Like, his term as president is over, but he's refusing. He's declared martial law and is not holding any new presidential election. Russia has downplayed Zelensky's legitimacy due to martial law preventing new elections in the country, but Kiev says it's impractical to hold a ballot during wartime. That's not true, because there's people in Western Ukraine who are still going to work. They're still paying taxes. They're still doing they're still living their lives. These people should be allowed to vote. Let's vote on whether or not we even want Zelensky to represent us anymore, because he sucks at this. I honestly think that's why Zelensky, the real reason why, it's not about, oh, no, we can't hold a ballot during a war. No, you totally could. It's because you'd fucking lose. Kirill Dmitriev, the head of Russia's sovereign wealth fund, was also a part of the Russian delegation in Riyadh, with his presence signaling that Moscow was keen to emphasize the economic benefits of restoring ties. Speaking to Russian media outlets early Tuesday, Dmitriev estimated that U.S. business lost around $300 billion from leaving Russia, and said there was a huge economic toll on many countries from what's happening right now, and we believe a way forward is through solutions, he said, according to a news agency Interfax report. I don't even know what Interfax is. Ukraine and Europe frozen out. Ooh. Officials from Ukraine will not be present at the talks in Riyadh, Kiev said. And European allies also remain frozen out of the discussion for now. Yeah, that's because they have no fucking place in the peace talks. Like, why in the hell why should Poland be at the table for this? Why should Denmark or France or Germany, why should any of them, or England, like, why should any of them be at this peace talk? Like, you guys haven't done shit. The amount of money you've given to Ukraine pales in comparison to the amount of money that we've given Ukraine. Like, and again, the Ukrainians are asking, like, you to send troops to die on their behalf. Like, and they're asking for us to do that too. But, like, I'm sorry, but you haven't sent them any troops. You're not involved in this war, not officially. I mean, other than pumping money into it. And again, you all wanted the U.S. to come in and play referee. Well, here we are, and this is what we're going to do. Shut the fuck up. Shut the fuck up and let us do our job. Let us do the job you've begged us to do for the last 3 years. Officials from Ukraine will not be present. I already read that. Kiev leadership has warned that it will not agree to any peace deal that goes against its interests, while European leaders warned at the Munich Security Conference last weekend that any agreements made without its involvement would not work. Shut the fuck up. You're going to do what you're fucking told. Okay? Trump's already talking about pulling us out of NATO, and I mean he's threatened to do that before, but considering how his first 5 weeks in office has gone, it's entirely possible that he is actually going to do it. I don't even know if it's been 5 weeks. Probably haven't even been that long. So much has happened, it's felt like longer. But you're going to do what you're fucking told. Simple as. You're going to do what you're told. All right? We run the world. I don't like it. I'm not happy about it. I don't like being world police, but it is what it is. And as long as we are the world police, you are going to shut the fuck up and do what you're told. Simple as. European leaders held an emergency meeting in Paris on Monday where they agreed on the need to sharply increase defense spending but could not agree on whether to send peacekeeping troops to Ukraine as part of a post-war plan. The UK has said it's willing to send peacekeeping troops to Ukraine, but said the US would need to provide a backstop to support the deployment, while Denmark and France signaled a willingness to consider sending troops to the country. No! The entire, if we're going to have peace in Ukraine, we don't need French, Danish, and American troops stomping around. That's not how you achieve peace. Jesus Christ. Yeah, you don't achieve peace by holding a gun to Russia's head. It's not how that works. To be fair, that seems to be what this whole thing kind of started over. I mean, people will have all kinds of theories for what this started over, but Putin has said loudly and often that it was first of all, that Donbass he feels is a majority Russian area full of people who want to be a part of Russia, but then also that NATO encroachment on Russia's sovereign border. Should have let Russia join NATO. This whole thing could have been avoided years ago if we'd have just brought Russia into the fold. Other nations, including some of Ukraine's biggest backers, Poland and Germany, are wary, however. German Chancellor Olaf Scholz was openly critical of the idea, calling it completely premature and highly inappropriate, while the leaders of Italy, Spain, and Norway appeared to be more cynical about the idea. Anxious to remain close to President Trump, UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer is due to meet the president next week, while French President Emmanuel Macron said he'd spoken to Trump and Zelensky after the emergency summit. Quote, "We seek a strong and lasting peace in Ukraine. To achieve this, Russia must end its aggression, and this must be accompanied by strong and credible security guarantees for the Ukrainians. Otherwise, there is a risk that this ceasefire will end up like the Minsk agreements. We will work on this together with all Europeans, Americans, and Ukrainians. This is the key," Macron said on social media platform X. Here's the thing: Starmer and Macron might not even be the respective leaders of their respective nations soon. They both got nobody's happy with Starmer's leadership in the UK, and Macron's got an election coming up, and the right wing party is gaining more and more ground. It looks like Marine Le Pen might actually pull it off. If she's even still, I don't know if Marine Le Pen is still there, because is she still a player? Because I don't pay attention to French politics, and I don't comment on French politics because I don't care about French politics. Like I said, Europeans, if you want us to come in and play referee, then take a couple steps back and shut the fuck up. You don't deserve a seat at the table. You guys cocked this whole thing up. You kept gassing up Ukraine, telling them, "Oh, bro, you could totally take Russia in a fight." And then look what happened. 3 years later, hundreds of thousands of Ukrainians dead, billions in damages in some of the oldest cities in all of Europe. And America had a part to play in that too. We were also gassing them up. We gave them more money than anyone, which is unfortunate. But we also had an illegitimate president who stole the seat from the rightful guy. So, yeah, peace talks will continue. Hopefully, we can get this thing settled, and like you know, the Ukrainians can stop dying, and we can, maybe they can finally hold an election and get Zelensky the fuck out of office. Who knows? But seriously, I know I've said it like 10 times in this video, but I'm going to say it again. Other Europeans, if you are not Russian, if you are not Ukrainian, and if you are not American, stand back and shut the fuck up. Comment if you think I'm wrong, if you think I'm being harsh, if you don't like my take, or if you like my take, comment anyway. And, like the video and whatever, and subscribe to the channel and follow the links and subscribe to all my other channels and follow me on X and, watch the game streams on Rumble, all the algorithm stuff. Throw me a bone.